I think probably the greatest benefit for this presentation would be an exchange of ideas and a discussion. So a lot of these slides are just to stimulate the dialogue, and at any point in time, throw out questions and we can make this pretty informal. Faculty of Color Nuts and Bolts session. You'll find in our strategic plan a series of values that we take pretty seriously that relate to collegiality, mutual respect, and of course underlying most of what we do is this notion of public service. And of course we do that specifically through our 3 missions, but as we're carrying out those missions, these are elements that are extremely important for all of us to remember. Part of our strategic plan is somewhat inward looking. The first several elements talk about some of the things that Martha talked about, our vision, which involves what our role is in the state of New Mexico, and that our success will be measured by the health of the communities that we serve and issues around health equity. But within the strategic plan, we also have some internal goals that relate to providing to our own people and how we want to be viewed and the environment that we want to create within the Health Sciences Center. So providing an environment and resources to let all of you do the very best that you can. We're only as successful as we allow you to be. So whether it's seeing patients or teaching or conducting research, we want to be sure that you have the tools at your disposal in order to do a very good and effective job. And the idea of diversity and integrity, transparency are something that we all take very seriously as well. This just gives you a little bit of an idea of the longevity of some of the colleges. The Health Sciences Center will be celebrating its 20th year anniversary this year, and the School of Medicine its 50th year. But we also have the colleges of nursing and pharmacy that are much older. And in fact, the College of Pharmacy was the very first health-related college at the University of New Mexico. A little bit about governance. Everybody has a boss, and I report to 2 bosses, the UNM president, President Frank, and the Health Sciences Center Board of Directors. So I have, from a line management point of view, I relate to the president in things like assuring that what we do here correlates and supports the overall UNM mission, and then but I'm also accountable to a dedicated group that serves on the board that has a responsibility for assuring effectiveness of the whole Health Sciences Center through this board structure. And then, of course, the HSC Board of Directors is essentially a subsidiary of the entire UNM regions. We do all these things. I think you're all familiar with all these things. So just for completeness, we have an array of major entities and components within the Health Sciences Center that addresses the 3 missions of the university and the Health Sciences Center. And I'll end, I think, on this slide. You can't talk about an organization and not have an organizational chart. So this just identifies the various leaders within the institution. I mentioned up here about what that looks like, but we're very dependent on a vice chancellor for research, Richard Larson, and where is, I'm looking for Valerie, right over here. Okay, one of the 4 vice chancellors, and again, the missions spread out in different ways at different levels of the organization. I mean, Luis has to be very, very concerned about sick moms and sick babies in utero, and have a sense of responsibility in the way that he carries out the 3 missions of the organization that's quite specific for those populations. And those obligations are addressed in very different ways in different levels of the organization. And so Christy, for example, wants to be sure that we're cognizant and a player at an international level as it relates to sending our message and addressing our mission. And Ava, when she thinks about budget development and our finances, realize that a budget and money is just a means to the end. It's our ability to deliver on the vision, achieve the vision, and carry out our mission and our goals. So with that, let me just end, and I'd really like to hear from you if you have questions. Doesn't have to be on what I just presented, it can be on anything, or comments, concerns.
Could you tell us more about the board of directors? Who they're comprised of, how long their terms are, how they're selected?
Yeah, so the board of directors, so that would be the Health Sciences Center board of directors, has 3 regents and 2 community members. Those are 5 voting members, and then there is an ex officio non-voting member who is the chair of the UNM Hospital Board of Trustees. So currently the 3 regents are Suzanne Quillen from Las Cruces, Brad Hosmer, and Conrad James. And the 2 community members are Mel Eves and Ann Rhodes. And Michael O'Gean is the current chair of the Hospital Board of Trustees. Now their terms are all staggered so that we don't either gain or lose people, the whole board overnight. And Mel Eves, I think Mel was just recently reappointed, as was Ann, and their terms are 3 years, I think. And it's a great board because they bring a very different perspective, and they ask questions that sometimes either we forget to ask as we're in the middle of the forest looking at the bark on the trees, or would just either we forget to ask or we wouldn't even think of asking. So Mel Eves is a big-time attorney, and he's lived here his whole life. He has a view of the healthcare needs of New Mexico through the eyes of an attorney. He was also a regent at one point for a fairly long period of time. Brad Hosmer is a retired brigadier general who actually was the superintendent of the Air Force Academy. And so he has a perspective around education, actually, that is very, very different than ours. And Conrad was a representative in the House, is an engineer out of Sandia Laboratories, and yet has a different view of the world. Ann Rhodes is a very successful executive with a background in human resources, but also sits on major boards, JetBlue, what's the Chinese restaurant? P.F. Chang. And I think she's also connected with well, she was originally with Southwest, but then she left and went to JetBlue. But she was, I think, with the Commonwealth Fund in Boston, was on their board at one point. And then, who am I missing then? Suzanne Quillen is an executive for a long-term care hospital down in Las Cruces, in LTAC. Yeah, Val?
So can you explain, because I have to say, it took me a little while too, like the difference, like what's the health sciences and what's the health systems, how do they work together?
Oh, okay.
Like what pieces are what? And
So this whole thing is the Health Sciences Center. Within the Health Sciences Center, we have the entire clinical enterprise, which is the health system. And then we have the academic units, which are the colleges and the library. So the combination of the academic units with the health system make up the Health Sciences Center. That is confusing. A lot of people use the same language when referring to different parts. Luis?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that this is my second time around here, and these places have come a long ways. When I first came in 1988, and I don't want to date anybody, Dr. Roth was the chair of emergency medicine, Valerie was a medical student. But when I went to get my contract, it was at Dean Napolitano's office, and there was this old guy there. He was a Navy retiree, and he tells me, "Son, what is a Puerto Rican guy doing here in New Mexico?"
Oh, no.
Where the hell am I? So I was about to walk away from that office. But, so the place has come a long ways, and a lot of progress. It's glad to see the physicians that were residents and medical students in the positions they are, and a lot of progress with the diversity. I was telling one of the fellows here, there were only 2 or 3 Caribbean people here in 1988, 1990, Cristina, Dr. Quirera, me, and then Jose Acosta was a resident.
That's
There's
right.
a bunch of people. People from East India. Sanjeev Arora was the only one for a long time, So those are things that I would like to commend all your efforts, because really it's beautiful what we have cooking here now.
Yeah.
We
I
have
think,
a ways to go, but this is great.
yeah, I'm really proud of the way that the leadership has been able to come together. One thing Luis didn't mention was that he helped deliver our first child back in the OB suite. And I'm trying to remember if it was Eve SB. No, it was Karen George, who, by the way, wants to come back.
I know.
She's at Dartmouth now.
She's a board examiner now for OB.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh. Yeah. So let me ask you some questions then in the meantime, as you're maybe thinking about your own. Tell me or share some experiences you've had that you believe were principally on the basis of you being a faculty of color in our institution, either good or bad. And if there hasn't been any, then I think we've been relatively successful, but I doubt that. Yeah, Anne.
Well, I'm going to share this with you because I've been thinking about it a lot lately. So you appointed me to direct the Institute for Ethics and also to do the Center of Excellence for African American Health. Shortly after you did that, and I was meeting with other faculty members, who actually said, "So does that mean now we're going to be doing black bioethics?" So, of course, fortunately, the next day, I was leaving town for a meeting because I had no desire to come back to this place after that evening. And I went out of town for the meeting and had an opportunity to kind of reflect on the ignorance sort of move on. So that was an experience.
Yeah, that was unfortunate, wasn't it?
But that's just one.
Sure. Have other of you experienced similar kinds of reactions by your colleagues? Either overt like that, or just feeling a little awkward or off?
I always seen this place as an accepting place of different cultures. I've always been very surprised, but yeah, I'm pretty sure there is. I worked in the South for the past 15 years, so you can feel that strongly there.
Right.
I don't really feel bad.
I'm from Alabama, and I never experienced that there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. I worked in Jacksonville, Florida for a long time. You could see the differences, and people, would look at you. Even, for example, socially, these people will go to you medically, but they will not socialize with you. And then, you were because you had an accent, you were considered second-class citizen there. But that has not been my experience here, and I'm really very sorry, to hear that. Used to be here, African Americans. We had, Lua Chisholm was, and then there was a very nice guy that worked in the lab. I'm blacking out his name. I saw him a long time ago, but there wasn't a big community. But I'm very surprised, and I do apologize for that if somebody told me that.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Any other questions? I think Ava is going to talk to you all about finances, and I'm sure you're going to be enthralled as you dive down into where the nickels and dimes are in the organization. I've been instructed to give you my microphone, but I'll let you put it on.
All right.
Thank you.